Playing a dating simulator game during class is high school student Keima Kutsuragi. He's a 17-year-old guy who spends most of his student life conquering girls daily. Well, in the virtual world, that is. Unlike most of his classmates who are busy socializing, Keima's interest, and basically his whole life, is only focused on the virtual world. Almost all of his schoolmates are aware of his intense addiction. While his teacher is giving a lecture, she spots Keima playing on his console and is immediately irritated at his cocky behavior. She then approaches him and stands next to his desk to rhetorically ask him what could be more interesting than her lesson. Keima doesn't face her, his attention still on the game. He nonchalantly asks her to wait after he reaches a saving point in his game before scolding him. Unsurprisingly, his words end up giving him a good beating and an earful from his teacher about his attitude. Apparently, Keima often gets called out for playing in class. But since he still gets high marks on tests and gives correct answers when asked to participate orally, he believes that how he participates in class is perfectly fine. What a smart aleck. As he walks around the school after class, he starts complaining about how the females in the real world are far different from the girls he encounters in his dating sims. Right after that thought, a girl suddenly calls his name from behind. She's running towards him and bumps into him, causing him to face-plant into the wall. Ayumi Takahara is one of Keima's classmates and is a member of the school's track and field team. Like every other girl in the school, Keima ignores her existence. After recovering from being slammed to a wall, Keima snaps at Ayumi for nearly damaging his gaming device. His classmate only laughs it off, saying that no real harm was done. As if what she has done wasn't terrible enough, she enthusiastically asks him to cover for her shift to clean the school's rooftop after classes are over. The both of them were supposedly assigned to clean together that day, but since her club has to practice for an upcoming meet, he'll just have to do it alone. Keima obviously refuses and tells her that he's busy. Ayumi retorts that it shouldn't be a problem for him, since he's got nothing better to do than play games all day. To add insult to the injury, she adds that he has more time to waste than her. Keima then starts defending himself. He still has a lot of games to do, and 2D girls to woo, and that's not a waste of time. It turns out he's only talking to the air, as she already left. In her place is a broom, seemingly mocking Keima. She got you there, bro. Keima is seen on the roof when classes are over, still annoyed about the earlier events. He then continues his train of thought from earlier. He would really like it if in real life that Ayumi, along with every other girls in the school, would be more like the girls in his games. He then proceeds to complain about reality, because in his perspective, it's just a crappy game. The guy wishes he could just spend all his life with girls that are predictable and fits his ideals. Well, no wonder he can't socialize. After complaining and cleaning, Keima takes a break. He sits on one of the benches and whips out his console. But instead of playing, he reads through a bunch of messages about games. Other gamers ask him for advice on quests and how to finish the game level. It is then revealed that Keima apparently isn't just an average gamer. He's a popular gaming expert, famous for conquering over 100 dating simulator games. He's known as the God of Conquest, because he is rumored to capture the hearts of every girl in dating sims. While responding to a message, a notification for a new email appears on his screen. In the email, an unfamiliar sender asks Keima if he can really capture the hearts of over 100 girls. It then tells him about a girl that he won't be able to conquer. Who is this person to doubt the God of Conquest? So Keima replies to the sender, saying that a god never backs down and decides to accept the request. Once he clicks send, the sky turns gray, and a storm begins to form on the rooftop. Without warning, a lightning bolt strikes the rooftop, close to where Keima is. A strong gust of wind sends him flying to a corner. When the storm starts to clear, Keima looks up to the sky. Out of nowhere, a young girl floats down, riding on a broomstick, and lands in front of him. Too shocked at what just happened, Keima stares at the strange girl, speechless. The girl then finally notices Keima, and the first thing she does is grab him by the arm, fly into the air, and bring him to an empty classroom. In the room, Keima is surprisingly composed. However, he then arrives in a state of denial about the whole situation. He focuses on saving his game data before acknowledging anything else. Gotta admire his priorities. Once he's saved all his game data, he starts interrogating the weird stranger. The girl introduces herself as Elsea de Lut Irma, Elsie for short. She's a demon sent from hell and part of an organization that captures runaway evil spirits. Keima digests all of that and decides to ditch Elsie to buy a video game after realizing it's Thursday. Before he can leave, Elsie warns him to be careful not to lose his head. She then points to a purple shock collar on his neck. The demon asks him about signing a contract Dokuro the bureau chief of hell sent him. Keima racks his brain until he remembers the last message he answered. Elsie informs him demon contracts are very strict. Suppose he breaks the contract without permission or doesn't meet any of the conditions. In that case, the collar will automatically activate and off with his head. Keima commands her to take the collar off, but she reassures him that it'll be removed. They only have to collect the loose souls. The contract is actually about capturing the runaway spirits trapped in girls' bodies on Earth. After that explanation, and more of Keima's whining, Elsie's skull-shaped hair clip starts glowing red and makes a sound. It means that one of the spirits is nearby. As Keima struggles to forcibly pull the collar off his neck, Elsie looks outside on one of the classroom windows. She sees Ayumi on the field with other track team members. Only this time, she stands out from the others. Why? Ayumi's whole body is radiating a blue aura, showing that an evil spirit has attached itself to her heart. Even Keima can see it. He asks Elsie how exactly can a runaway spirit be collected. The demon only smiles at him and explains that that's why they need a human buddy like Keima. His job is to assist and help her force the spirit out of the human girls' hearts. How, you may say? Make the girls fall in love with him, of course. You're telling me to conquer a real girl? Keima's own spirit almost leaves his body at this news. Elsie answers that a kiss will suffice and make the loose soul leave, which only makes things worse. Keima's expression is a mix of mad, surprised, and shocked. How can he conquer an actual living, breathing girl in real life? He hasn't even held a real girl's hands his whole life. After this embarrassing confession, Keima confidently tells Elsie that his world only needs women in the gaming world. Elsie drops her broomstick and then cries her eyes out at his poor circumstances. She also feels bad for herself, cause her human buddy's only a good wooing woman in games. Now that he's cleared up their misunderstanding, Keima asks Elsie to remove his collar again. Unfortunately, she still can't do so, because he's still bound by the contract. To make matters worse, she's also bound with him because of the contract. Basically, if the human buddy dies, then so does the demon helping him. The scene then shows both Keima and Elsie sighing on a staircase next to a field. Both of them feel hopeless about the situation while watching the runners. Keima then takes out a piece of paper and pen and starts making a bucket list of games he has to play and replay before losing his head. Elsie just watches him furiously write, but then gets an idea to help them both. She suggests that since he's technically a god of conquering women in games, he might be able to do the same in real life. He replies to the idea by advising her that mixing games with reality is a horrible idea. The two are way too different after all. At least you know that one. He suddenly starts criticizing Ayumi and the other girls in her club. They're nothing like what an actual track team should look like. All of his criticism is just based on video game characters though. He starts complaining that girls from a track team should have their hair tied up if they were serious about running. The spirit of the sport is all about the headband, he claims. He adds that he can't conquer a girl that doesn't put in any effort. Well, this guy sure is hard to please. Elsie tells him that things like that don't matter in a girl. Keima yells at her and stubbornly argues that it does, calling her mindset ridiculous. Elsie then notices Ayumi tying up her hair and tells Keima. The boy, now hesitating, says that it's still not enough. He then adds that girls should also be wearing shorter shorts in track teams. With a bright smile, Elsie uses her magic scarf to change the girls' shorts on the track team. Said girls scream at the change. The demon tells Keima that she has the power to change how these girls look on the outside, but only he can change how the girls feel on the inside, especially Ayumi. She pleads to him to just try. Shocked by Elsie's powers, Keima backs away from her all the way to a nearby tree, now realizing how real and how much trouble he got himself into. With newfound confidence and his life on the line, Keima visits Ayumi on the track field. He brings out a giant good luck banner for her. He also has a matching headband. When Ayumi and her other clubmates see the over-the-top banners, she's left gaping. She then runs towards Keima and directly kicks him in the gut, making him fly into the air while yelling at him for all the embarrassing signs. Ayumi asks him why he's doing such a creepy thing for her. It's not creepy, it's kinda sweet. And Keima says that the meet is in a few days, so he wants to show his support. She responds by choking him with his own headband. The girl believes that embarrassing her is his revenge for making him clean the roof alone. She then leaves him, but not before threatening to kill him if he does something like that again. For the next 3 days, Keima doesn't quit. He keeps coming back with more banners. Each one is bigger than the last. After a while, Ayumi just isn't bothered and starts ignoring his presence. Elsie points out that Keima's methods are probably making the girl hate him instead of loving him. Keima isn't fazed by her words, and calmly tells her that hate can turn to love in an instant. Right after saying that, Keima suddenly gets a stomachache, most likely from having to deal with zero progress from Ayumi for so long. He curses under his breath, blaming reality for making conquering girls so hard. He's also wondering how he's supposed to play this real-life dating game without any saving points. Before he can go to a restroom though, he and Elsie spot Ayumi on the field being bullied by her upperclassmen in the track team. Apparently, the older girls are picking on her just because she was practicing on the field before them. Ayumi gets nervous, but faces them calmly and obediently as their junior, and asks them to give her a penalty. The girls then become annoyed. What a cocky junior, they said. But they don't belittle her anymore, and just make her run 30 laps. Awful, awful girls. After witnessing the scene, Elsie comments that awful people exist everywhere, no matter what world she goes to. Ain't that the truth? Keima only focuses on Ayumi. It's now the 4th day of Keima's conquering attempt, and this time, he comes with banners attached to giant advertising balloons. Like the previous day, Ayumi just ignores him. The team's practice starts as usual. Unfortunately, things take an unfortunate turn later on. In the middle of training, Ayumi falls hard after tripping on one of the course hurdles and sprains her leg. Some of her teammates suspect that someone meddled with the training course. Apparently, someone moved one of the hurdles closer to the starting point. However, they don't have evidence, so they can't do anything about it. But I'm 100% sure it's those awful third years doing it. Elsie and Keima are listening in on Ayumi and her friend's conversation in the nurse's office. After hearing everything, Elsie believes that it's hopeless for Keima to win Ayumi's heart if he can't cheer her on during the race the next day. Keima doesn't pay attention and instead analyzes what's really going on with Ayumi. He doesn't believe that a simple accident is enough to stop her from doing what she loves. He then shifts his attention to Elsie and tells her that they've finally reached the turning point in the story because he can now see the ending. That night on campus, right before Ayumi's meet, Keima calls her to talk in front of the track field. Ayumi arrives, walking with a pair of crutches and a cast on her leg. When she sees Keima, she looks at him, seriously annoyed. The girl brings out a fruit basket he sent her. The basket has a label wishing her luck on the race. She then asks what sick joke he's trying to pull, rather cockily. He tells her he had hopes she'd eat it, so she'd had enough strength tomorrow. It earns him an apple to the face. Ayumi asks him if he even sees her injured ankle, and if he honestly thinks she can even still run in the meet. His resoundingly confident yes catches her off guard. Apparently, Keima had figured out that her leg wasn't fully injured when he had been observing her earlier that day. She desperately tries to deny it. He doesn't even know anything about track and field, she says. But he retorts that she wasn't even giving it her best that morning. By now, Keima has watched her enough to know that she ties her hair up when she's serious about running. He then asks her if she planned to trip on the course. Ayumi then drops her crutches and owns up to Keima's accusations. She vents out all her frustrations on Keima, fully admitting that she's insecure. She hasn't made any progress in her running time after getting scouted. How can she run in such an important event? She cries her eyes out, believing that she doesn't deserve to represent their class. The poor girl thinks it's better that she had that accident than not winning in the competition. Keima then becomes genuinely concerned and feels terrible for her. He decides to properly comfort her by saying that even if she loses, she'll still have a place in his heart. Not expecting his words at all, Ayumi's face turns tomato red. She's completely flustered by the random confession. She then starts chasing Keima around and throwing fruit from his gift basket. It's his fault that she's all emotional. The big gesture made her very vulnerable. Stopping to catch her breath, she sees that the fruit basket he gave her had a pair of running shoes for her to use in the meet. Ayumi then shyly asks Keima if he'll be there to cheer for her tomorrow. He tries to cover his face before shyly responding with a yes. She then looks at him and smiles brightly for the first time. Their close proximity accidentally causes Keima to fall back on the steps. She manages to catch him, and it ends with them kissing. With this, the spirit leaves Ayumi's body, and Elsie captures it in a huge jar. One loose soul captured. The next day, Ayumi won first place in the meet. One of the awful upperclassmen even congratulated her on the win. After she leaves, Ayumi hears a voice congratulating her nearby and realizes it's Keima. She then gets shy and thanks him for the unexpected greeting. She leaves the room when her friends call her name. Unfortunately, capturing the evil spirit inside her erased all her memories of that night. Keima believes that everything ended the way it should. But the God of Conquest still can't help but blush as he recalls what happened the previous night.
Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications. And leave a like, it really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.